What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, in the past couple days, we have talked a lot about the Arizona Cardinals and Detroit Lions game, the outcome, the good for the Lions, the bad for the Lions, the ugly. We've pretty much talked about it as much as we can. And today, I want to shift our focus to next week because, yeah, it's great to reminisce on the past. It's great to talk about a win over and over again. But, at this point, it's in the past. We got to move forward, and we have to look at our next opponent, our upcoming opponent in the New Orleans Saints, and look at, what we can take from that game, what we can take into week 4, and have confidence in, and what can the Detroit Lions do in week 4 that the Saints have been struggling against in order to get this victory. So I went over the Saints' last 2 games, which were both losses, by the way, and looked at what their opponents did well, what their opponents did to them to make it so that the Saints did end up losing those games. And I looked at whether or not the Detroit Lions could take those strategies that the Packers and the Raiders used and put it into their strategy for this week, and what they can use, what knowledge they can learn from those games in order to take advantage of some of the Saints' weaknesses and obviously, hopefully win this next football game and go back to 500 and hopefully start, getting on that roll and start turning the season around. Now, before we do get into talking about what the Lions can do against the New Orleans Saints to get victory in Sunday's game, if you are new to the channel and are enjoying the content, consider liking the videos and subscribing to the channel. This takes only 2 seconds out of your day, and it would help me push this channel out and help me push this content out to more Lions fans such as yourselves. So if you could do that, I would be greatly appreciative for it. But with all that being said, let's get into talking about what the Detroit Lions need to do in order to beat the Saints, and what some of the weaknesses are that the Saints have shown over the past 2 weeks that the Lions can exploit and take advantage of. Now, in order to do this video, I went back and I looked at the previous 2 games that the New Orleans Saints played, and I obviously looked at what the Detroit Lions did last week versus the Arizona Cardinals. Now, the Saints are coming off 2 losses in a row. They were coming off back-to-back losses versus the Las Vegas Raiders and the Green Bay Packers, 2 very difficult teams to beat. Now, one thing that I noticed immediately, and that was very apparent to me, is that teams, when they were going up against the Saints, wanted to run the ball a lot, wanted to control time of possession, and that really helped them win the football game. Now, if you look at time of possession throughout both of the New Orleans Saints games that they lost, the Raiders had 36 minutes and 18 seconds of possession during that game. And the Packers, when they played them, had 31 minutes and 40 seconds of possession. So in both games where the New Orleans Saints lost, the other team dominated time of possession. The other team was able to hold the ball. They were able to run out the clock. They were able to keep that Saints offense off the field. And I think that was really, really effective, because if you look at the Saints offense, if you look at what they are built to do, they're not really built to throw the ball downfield a lot. They're not really built to push the ball on the field, to get huge chunk plays through the air. And they're not built like that, and there's a couple reasons for that. One, Drew Brees is older. His arm strength is not anywhere near where it used to be, so they have to rely a lot more on quick passes, screens, and they have to rely on a lot of yak yardage to get them first downs in order to get them that. And they gotta rely on a lot of creative scheme calling, a lot of creative play calling, and a lot of creative schemes, because Drew Brees is still amazing. Drew Brees is still a great quarterback in the NFL, but Drew Brees is not the quarterback he used to be. He cannot push the ball down the field like he used to. He cannot throw the ball as far as he used to. It's going to happen with age. Just no slight against Drew Brees, but it is something that I noticed. It is something that, the Saints coaching staff knows, is that Drew Brees can't push the ball anymore. So in their offense, they've built in a lot of things like screens. They've built in a lot of plays that are supposed to get the wide receivers yards after the catch, and they're supposed to get, the running backs in space to make them, give them an opportunity to make moves. And, that's how the Saints offense is built. So if you dominate time of possession, if you don't let that offense drain the clock, if you don't let that offense be on the field and have their long, methodical drives that end touchdowns, then this team is going to struggle. If you make it so that this team has to score quick, if you make it so that this team has to score in less time than they are used to, they are going to struggle, especially because, the Saints offense is kind of predictable at this point. Alvin Kamara is their huge weapon, and I will talk about that in a minute. And then Michael Thomas is their other big receiving weapon. Outside of that, nobody really scares me on the Saints offense. Drew Brees is not the same quarterback he was a few years ago. He's not the scariest quarterback to go up against anymore. Their tight ends aren't anything crazy. Their offensive line isn't anything crazy. The only 2 players that I'm really scared of on that offense are Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara. And, both of them, Michael Thomas is much better at short, quick slants, stuff like that. And, that's not really designed to get big chunk yardage, big plays. And then Alvin Kamara is obviously a big play threat, but a lot of his things come off running game, and a lot of his his big plays come off screen passes or swing passes where, you know, Alvin Kamara makes the most out of his opportunity. He makes the most out of it, and he makes a bunch of people miss in order to get those big plays. Dominating time of possession in this game is going to be crucial for the Detroit Lions. They have to dominate possession, and they have to limit the time that the New Orleans Saints offense has, because the less time that they have to work with, the tougher it's going to be for the New Orleans Saints to operate the offense that they like to work in. And, you know, obviously if it's tougher for them to execute their offense, then they're not going to be as effective, and that gives the Lions defense more time, and that gives the Detroit Lions an advantage in, you know, both the offensive and defensive perspectives. Now, if you want to know whether or not the Lions can dominate time of possession, last week in their game versus the Arizona Cardinals, the Detroit Lions did dominate time of possession. They had 32 minutes and 50 seconds of that 60-minute clock, which means the Arizona Cardinals obviously only had 27 minutes and 10 seconds off that clock. So last week the Lions ran the ball a lot. They played a lot of ball control, and they did dominate time of possession. They did win that time of possession battle. So I know the Lions can do it. I know the Lions have the ability. They have the players in order to, you know, run out that clock. They have that ability to, you know, keep their offense on the field. They have that ability to keep that Saints offense off the field if they want to next week. And I think that is something that, again, just like against the Arizona Cardinals, the Lions need to take advantage of. The Lions need to keep that offense off the field. They need to keep that opposing offense off the field. They need to make them uncomfortable. They need to make them predictable. And that is exactly what happened last week with the Lions defense. They made Kyler Murray place, you know, they put Kyler Murray under pressure. They made him make some unwise decisions. And, you know, they did not allow that Cardinals offense to be on the field more than necessary. They kept the offense off the field as much as possible so that the offense had time to work. Our offense had time to be methodical and go down the field and score and drain the clock. And, you know, or obviously at the end of the game when the Lions needed to go down and waste time off the clock and score a game-winning field goal, they took, I believe, 4 minutes and 49 seconds off the clock on that one drive alone to end the game, and then they kicked that game-winning field goal as time expired. So I know the Lions can drain clock. I know that the Detroit Lions can, you know, run the ball. I know that they can bleed the clock over and over again, and I know that they could take a lot of chunk out. I know that they could take a lot of time off that clock at any given drive, and that's something the Detroit Lions really need to do this drive or this game, because, you know, it with Michael Thomas coming back, with Alvin Kamara being healthy, Drew Brees, even though he's not the quarterback he used to be, is still very good. You know, this offense for the Saints is methodical. They like to go down the field. They like short passes. They like screen passes that then can break off for big yardage, and the Lions need to limit that. The way you limit that is with time of possession. The way you limit that is you don't give that offense time to be methodical. You don't give that offense an opportunity to, you know, have their screen passes and their short stuff to open up big. You have to force them to go deep. You have to force them to go long and take shot plays and to try to get those chunk plays. And when they do that, that works against what the Saints do well, and that works to what our defense can take advantage of, and when our defense can start getting more and more turnovers, like we saw last week when Kyler Murray tried pushing the ball down the field when it was not necessarily the best decision. Now, the other thing that I noticed on the offense for the opponents against the New Orleans Saints is that they ran the ball a lot, and that's pretty apparent with the time of possession. But if you look at what their opponents did against them in the past 2 weeks, the Raiders ran the ball 35 times as a team, and the Packers ran the ball 28 times. So, you know, running the ball against the New Orleans Saints defense seems to be very effective, you know, and, you know, it's not like they were running the ball just to run the ball. Like, they were being pretty effective with their carries, especially the Las Vegas Raiders. You know, the Packers weren't super effective at it, but they kept running the ball, and it, you know, it worked occasionally. It worked sometimes. It wasn't every time, but they kept sticking with the run game. They kept keeping that time of possession, and, you know, running the ball is going to help you do that. And as we saw from last week, the Lions are coming off a game where they continued to run the ball over and over and over, and they kept handing it to Adrian Peterson even when it wasn't working, and that helped drain the clock. That helped dominate time of possession, and at the end of the game, they did it, and it worked, and it helped drain time off the clock so that the Cardinals did not have a chance to come back. The offense for the Cardinals, that's very explosive and very, you know, reliant on big plays, did not have an opportunity to get back on the field, and they did not have an opportunity to steal that game away from Detroit. And that's exactly what the Lions need to do again. They need to run the ball again. They need to win that time of possession battle, and they need to just, you know, they need to keep running the ball even if it's not working, because that's how you know, open things up. That's how you get that play action. That's how you open up things on the offense. And, you know, we saw it last week with the Detroit Lions, and I think with the success that other teams have had against it with the New Orleans Saints, that the Detroit Lions' main purpose, the Detroit Lions offense this week needs to focus on running the ball over and over and over again, and really, you know, making that Saints defense rely and, you know, make them commit to stopping the run run, making them stop Adrian Peterson and Kerryon Johnson before you can open up the pass game, before you can take your big shots, because the big shots are going to be there. The offense or the defense for the Saints hasn't been good really in either category, passing or rushing defense this year. So, the big plays will come, the opportunities will come for this offense to take their shots and to score points and to get chunk plays. But in the beginning of the game and throughout a majority of the game, you need to rely on that run game. You need to run the ball 20, 30 times, 35 times a game, like we saw with the Packers, like we saw with the Raiders. Running the ball and dominating time of possession is the way to beat this New Orleans Saints team, and that's exactly what the Lions need to do if they want to, defend their den. If they want to walk out of Ford Field on Sunday as a 500 team on a hot streak, they need to run the ball. They need to keep that Saints offense off the field, and they need to limit the time that the Saints have on the field. So, those are what I think what the Lions need to do from the defensive side. I think that or the offensive side, excuse me. I just think that, we can keep that Saints offense off the field. If we can force them to be more aggressive at the end of the game, if we can dominate time of possession so that on every single drive, the Saints only have so many minutes. It's only so many minutes till halftime, and the Saints can't work the offense like they want. There's only so many minutes until the end of the game, and the Saints have to take more shot plays. They have to take more aggressive plays that leads and, works into our defense's favor. I just think that's what the Lions need to do on defense in order to be successful in this game, and I think that the Detroit Lions will do that. They showed last week that they're willing to run the ball. They showed last week that, there's that change of philosophy that, okay, we're going to run the ball. Even if it doesn't work a couple times, we're still going to run the ball, keep that defense honest, and it worked last week. So I don't know why we would turn away from it today, or I don't know why we'd turn away from it this week, considering that the Saints are not that good at stopping the run in general. Now, looking at some of the other things that I noticed watching those Saints games, the Saints are very, very sloppy. They are playing very poor right now on both the offensive and defensive side of the ball when it comes to penalties. Now, in the past 2 games, the New Orleans Saints have had 18 penalties for 212 total yards in just the past 2 games. That's really bad. That's 9 penalties and over 100 extra yards given up per game just off penalties. And you can't win football games like that. You can't win football games when you're jumping offsides. You can't win football games when you're committing penalties like that. The Lions know that firsthand from experience. You can't win football games when penalties are holding your back. You can't win football games if your own team, if your own players are actively hurting your defense. And I couldn't tell you exactly why all those penalties were happening. I couldn't tell you exactly what all those penalties were. But 18 penalties and over 200 yards in just 2 games is really, really bad. And, that's something that the Lions need to be mindful of. Stafford could hit him with a hard count a couple times and see if they jump off sides and see if they get sloppy again. And when they jump off sides, that's obviously a great opportunity to take your shots because it doesn't count anyway. That's a great opportunity where Matthew Stafford could hit him with the hard count, where they're going to maybe jump off sides. When they are going to commit that penalty down the field, that's something the Lions can scheme around. That's something the Lions can take advantage of. And if the Saints continue to play sloppy, if they continue to give up a lot of penalties and a lot of penalty yardage, that's only going to help the Detroit Lions win this game, and that's only going to actively work against the Saints as their defense commits penalties, as their offense commits penalties. That's only going to help the Lions out. That's not necessarily something the Lions can control, but I did notice that was a big thing that I noticed watching the games and looking at the stats, is that the Saints are playing very sloppy recently, and if they continue their sloppy play, if they continue to commit penalties, that's only going to work in the Lions' favor, and that's only going to help them out more and more as the game goes on, and as the Saints get more desperate and start committing more penalties, they start getting riskier with the penalties that they're committing. The more that happens, the further along the game goes and the more penalties that the Saints commit, it's going to help the Lions out over and over and over again, and it's really going to work in the favor of Detroit this week. One thing that I did want to mention, and one thing that I think is going to be huge for the outcome of this game, is that Michael Thomas is returning. Now, Michael Thomas has missed the last 2 weeks with a high ankle sprain. He looks like he's back. I've heard reports that he's looking really good in practice, that he is doing things in practice that, makes people believe he is going to play on Sunday, and that looks really scary on paper, right? Michael Thomas, reigning offensive player of the year with Drew Brees, a great quarterback, Alvin Kamara, a great running back, so it's really tough to double team and solely focus on Michael Thomas. That sounds really, really scary on paper, but the Detroit Lions this week are supposed to be returning Desmond Trufant. There were clips coming out yesterday and, some news coming out yesterday that he looked really good in practice. He looked healthy, he looked good to go, he looked prepared, and he looked like he was ready to go face Michael Thomas once again, as a Detroit Lion this time. And, you might look at that matchup and say, okay, but what is Desmond Trufant going to do against Michael Thomas? Michael Thomas cooks everybody, right? Well, if you look at the last time that these two rivals played each other, obviously, if you look at it, Desmond Trufant's been an Atlanta Falcon for a long time, so he knows how Michael Thomas plays. He's gone up against Michael Thomas a lot throughout his career, and the last time that they played, Desmond Trufant only allowed 6 catches for 48 yards on Michael Thomas and 0 touchdowns. So, on paper, that might look like the matchup goes to Michael Thomas, but Desmond Trufant has played this guy so many times. He has played Michael Thomas so many times. He has played the Saints offense so many times that he knows exactly what's going to happen. He knows how the Saints like to run their offense. He knows how Michael Thomas likes to run his routes and how he likes to, break and all these different things. So, not only can Desmond Trufant take advantage of that, but he can share that with Jeff Okudah. He can share that with Amani. He can share that with the safeties and the linebackers and the front seven and the defensive line. And he can share that with the team and share that with the coordinators. And, his familiarity against this Saints offense, I think, is really going to help, because if he's out there, he's going to be able to shut down Michael Thomas. I know, because he's done it before, and he did it the last time they played. So I have confidence that Trufant can do that. Trufant can share his experiences with the rest of the defense and the defensive coordinator to help them get a distinct advantage. And, it's not like the Saints have the same situation where they have a guy from Detroit that can tell them our offensive and defensive tendencies. I think Desmond Trufant is going to be the biggest impact player on this game because of his experience playing the Saints, because of his experience locking down Michael Thomas, and just I think that Desmond Trufant's return is obviously going to be big because he's our number 1 cornerback, but it's going to be the most impactful in this game because he knows how well the Saints offense is. He knows the Saints offense so well, and he knows what works when it comes to shutting that Saints offense down. As far as looking at everything the Lions have done in week 3 and looking at what the Saints struggled with in weeks 2 and 3, I think the Lions actually stack up pretty good against this Saints defense and offense. The Saints the last couple weeks have struggled in, holding possession. They've struggled in time of possession, and that's something the Lions thrived in last week. The Lions ran the ball a lot last week, and, teams seem to have success when they run the ball a lot versus the New Orleans Saints. You look at Alvin Kamara, who's their most dangerous weapon. I believe he scored 4 of their last 6 touchdowns in the past 2 games. We need to shut down Alvin Kamara first and foremost, but, I just think that this team stacks up pretty well with what the Saints don't do well. I think our offense is good at what the Saints struggle to defend against, and I think our defense is going to be able to, key in on a couple of key players on that offense and really be able to shut down and really be able to slow that Saints offense and, keep them off the field, keep them, and, even when they're on the field, keep them from getting big chunk plays, from getting big yardage, and from, really exposing this defense at, as far as everything that I've seen, I think the Lions actually stack up pretty well this week, and I think that there is a very realistic and a very solid chance that the Lions can, welcome into the New Orleans Saints to Detroit, because we're home this weekend once again. I think there's a very good chance that the New Orleans Saints walk into Detroit and they leave as a 1-3 team. I think there's a very realistic chance that the Detroit Lions can walk away from this Sunday's game as a 500 team on a hot streak, going into a bye week, getting healthy, and coming out against significantly worse competition than what they faced in the first 4 weeks. I think this is the point where we turn the season around. I really, really do. I just think that, we stack up well against the Saints. The Saints don't necessarily stack up well against what we do, and I think that the Lions can win this week. I think the Lions have a good chance, and especially if we go 2-2 this week, and, we beat a really good Arizona Cardinals team, and we beat a really good, New Orleans Saints team who's going to be playing for the playoffs this year once again, like they do every year. That's going to be huge confidence for the Lions. That's going to be huge for the coaching staff. That's going to be huge for the organization. And, if we can go 500 in these first 4 games, I think the Lions have a really good chance of actually making the playoffs despite how rough the season started. So with all that being said, though, that is all I got for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and an absolutely fantastic rest of your day. If there is no Lions news before tomorrow, then I will obviously see you tomorrow with more Detroit Lions content. If there is news, I will obviously make a video on it, but if there is no news, then that is all I got for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you all tomorrow with more Lions content. Bye, guys.